So all Lair Strong asks for as payment for all of his mischievous deeds is to just look at Alicent's feet while he jerks off. That's a wild boy. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. I'm back. I missed the last episode. I didn't do a recap or review on the last episode because life. I was out celebrating with my wife's birthday. So family took precedent. And like family, boy, does House of the Dragon get deep and all into family and family ties. The main thing that happened in the last episode that I need to touch on is that on Viserys' deathbed, yes, Viserys is finally dying and is finally dead. On Viserys' deathbed, he whispers to Alicent the story that he once told Rhaenyra when she was young about Aegon, the story of Aegon being the one that takes the throne, becomes the king to unite and fix all that is wrong in the realm. And sort of that, unfortunately, gives the seed to Alicent to say, oh crap, I now have carte blanche. I now have a reason. On his deathbed, my husband told me that my son, our son, should be the heir successor to the throne. And she's now off to the races. So this episode is called The Green Council, and it's all about sort of Alicent and the Hightowers doing everything they possibly can to sort of usurp what was known as the original request of the king for Rhaenyra to be the king, and now Aegon is the subsequent heir. Now, mind you, Alicent was there at the deathbed. She knew that he was dead, but she plays it off. And so it is relayed to her that Viserys has died by one of the handmaids. And she requested the handmaid keep that to herself. Like, hey, don't tell anybody, keep that to yourself. Because her thing is, let's keep this all in house because of the thing that Viserys just told me. I want to make sure that we got all our chickens and our ducks in a row and that we can go ahead and put my son as king before Rhaenyra finds out because all hell is going to break loose if she does. And I may not be able to make that claim. She closes up ranks, says don't tell anybody, and she consults with her father, the Hand. And the Hand says, hey, we got to close up ranks. We got to have counsel. We got to put the crown on him immediately before Rhaenyra can find out. Also, we need to find Rhaenyra and see if she takes a knee, but we know that she won't. We may need to take her out. And Alicent's sort of hesitant to all of that. Alicent is very much like, hey, I want to put my son as the king, but my husband is not going to want his daughter to have been killed. And Sir Otto kind of questions like, is it your husband, or is it the childhood companion of said friend? And it seems like there was a sequence in the last episode which I didn't talk about, but it seems like there was a moment where Alicent and Rhaenyra did have a bit of a bonding moment back together. That little glint of hope that the two of them had sort of is still there. And while Alicent wants everything for her son, she does not want that to be at the behest of taking Rhaenyra's life. So they bring this all in front of the Green Council, and to much of the surprise of Alicent, all the Green Council, except for two, Beesbury and Lord Commander, are all on board. In fact, they're so on board that they were thinking about this the whole time. Like, yo, we're going to do this, we got this in motion, we got everything set, we got this plan. Alicent's like, hold on, wait a minute. You guys were planning to do this and put my son in place regardless of what he said about Rhaenyra? And they're like, yeah, that was always the plan. We are gonna do that no matter what. We just couldn't tell you because we didn't want you to kind of get all in the messy part of it and get all mucked up in the muckety muck of it all. But yeah, no, that's how we was gonna do it. Except for Beesbury. Beesbury's like, no, hold on. We need to go tell her now. We're not playing this game. We're not usurping what was always said. Am I supposed to take the belief of her on his deathbed like she whispers in her ear? We heard him say Rhaenyra is the king in front of everybody. I'm not going to believe this. Sir Christian is a very stalwart person, and he puts his full effort into Beesbury to sit him down and bashes his head into the table, into the marker that is there, and kills him. Lord Commander does not take kindly to that, pulls out his sword and tells Sir Christian to put his sword down. Sir Christian's like, I did this out of respect. You're not going to besmirch my queen and what she said. And Alice is like, nobody's besmirching me or said anything towards me. Put your sword down. He does so. But then the rest of the council does, like I said, agrees. We're going to go ahead and put the crown on Aegon. And Lord Commander does not agree. He basically puts down his sword, puts his things like, I can't be a part of this. You're on your own. Good luck. So basically, the way they're going to do this is they're going to hide. They're hiding the king's body in the room for days while they kind of like shore up their allegiances, their allies. Um, Lord Hightower kind of calls out to the heads of a bunch of lands and says, "Hey, come see this. Come to me. King's dead, and Aegon's the new king. Do you all agree with that?" Basically, he's like, "Yeah, you all agree with that, or if you don't, we gonna kill you." He doesn't come out and say that, but that's basically what happens. Um, and most of them all immediately take a knee. There are three that stand and don't take a knee. Two of them subsequently say, "No, we don't believe that," and they're taken off to be killed. One of them eventually does take a knee, but Loras, that sneaky son of a bitch, is watching the entire time. He knows that something's not on the up and up. So as soon as he tries to get a moment by himself, he tries to flee. But Loras has already sort of warned Sir Hightower about that, and they catch him, and then they subsequently put him in that same mode of death as the other two. So basically, they are killing all the people who don't agree with Aegon being put into place. While the Lord Hightower was working on allies, the one member of the family, the cousin that they still have that is alive, Rhaenys, Alicent tries to go work on her. She originally tried to get out of the room, but the room is locked. She doesn't know why, she doesn't know what's going on, but then Alicent tells her, comes in and says, "Yeah, King's dead." She infers it from her look. And they start having a tit for tat, and uh, basically Alicent lets on like, you're going to usurp the request of the king because of this change in heart that he had in his deathbed, and that we're going to have Aegon be the king and not Rhaenyra. And then she starts laying on thick, like, "Hey, yo, what have they done for you? They killed your daughter, they killed your son, made him a cuckold. You know them kids ain't yours, them grandkids ain't yours. All this was your husband wanted the kingdom, and he ain't even here. He left you here stranded." She just starts throwing dirt as much as she can at Rhaenys to get her on her side. And Rhaenys kind of breaks in there like, I appreciate you. You're more steadfast in your ways than I originally thought, but you're still gonna be a prisoner. Like, you're a prisoner of all the men. And she says, "Listen, like, you're a prisoner of your father, your husband, and now you're a prisoner getting in a window of what your son's going to be doing. Like, this ain't your stuff. You should be the one on the throne." It's a way to kind of kick back. It's like, maybe it shouldn't be Rhaenyra. Maybe you should be the one running this. Because you say I should have been down there, but why can't it be you? Your son, we all know he ain't want none of this. Which gets into a fun little game of find Aegon that this episode have. Aegon's missing. So if you want to put a crown on the king and he's not around, it's kind of hard to do so. So Alicent sends Sir Christian and her son Aemon to go find him, while Sir Hightower is also sending two other people to go find him himself. And they started going on the streets and kind of going through all the torrid and unsullied things that that Aegon liked to participate in. One of them is a spot that apparently he and Aemon went to when they were young to get it wet, or get wet, as he would say. And that the young lady remembers Aemon and kind of gives him a look like, "Oh, you grew up." And Aemon ignores it, but knows, like, Christian Y'all gets it, like, this was the place that you were at. And they're like, "Aegon used to be here quite a bit when we were young, but he wasn't here today." But they continue on to find and basically get to a point where they find him when Sir Hightower's folks find them at the same time. And a little bit of a fight ensues. It's all going to the same place, but a little bit of a fight ensues. But Christian and Aemon get them back. Aemon and Aegon have a bit of a tussle, in that you learn that Aemon's like, "Look, we all know that I'm the one who should be having this, but this is the way this goes. You're the person that's next in line. I would do anything possible to just kill you and take it myself, but that's not how this goes." And Aegon definitely does not want to be the king. He's very much the reluctant king to do all of this. What is interesting, there's a moment where Alicent and Aegon have a heart-to-heart. And Aegon is like, "My dad never loved me. Like, Rhaenyra was always his main kid. That's the kid that he named. That's the kid that he loved. I was just here. I was an afterthought. Like, she should be the king. Like I don't get why this is a thing for me. But Alicent, being the great person of words, does say that he did love you, and he on his deathbed said that you were the person to be the next in line, and he shows him the dagger and sword that he was going to be betrothed to him, and that sort of gets him on board to finally go ahead and accept this big deal. Mind you, in this entire episode, we have nothing of Rhaenyra. This is literally just the Green Council because it's an insulated episode with just these guys, and I'm imagining what I've been told is that Allison and the Green Council are nowhere in the next episode. We're probably going to use the final sequence of this to bridge to that. So we have nothing of Rhaenyra. We're only getting the Green Council side of this. So then everyone is brought to the Dragon Pit at King's Landing for a huge announcement. Rhaenys is trying to escape or try to get moved out by one of the guards there, but it's too much. Everybody's sort of kind of closing in on the Dragon Pit area to see this huge announcement. And in this, they announce finally, after several days, that King Viserys is dead. Bit of a gasp. People kind of like, oh, and then they announce that Aegon will be the next in line for the throne. And it's quiet for a bit, and then claps start happening because they, mind you, have kind of killed off all the people who would have anything negative to say. And then we have a ceremony. Aegon comes in. They do this whole thing with swords, and he walks through. He looks very royal. In this, he gets up there, gets the sword, and turns around and kind of makes claim to the kingdom. And throws the sword up, and everybody cheers and has a great time. And then the whole freaking thing explodes, and there's a massive dragon that is on display there. Dragon's not shooting fire or not burning up anything, but the dragon is just there on full regalia and full display. And then it is shown that Rhaenys is now on the top of that dragon. Alicent covers Aegon as if Rhaenys is about to set fire to them, but instead the dragon just screams, and then she takes off with the dragon and heads out when we go to black. Which leads me to believe that Rhaenys, while she did not have, I'm not going to do anything because I don't know what my cousin said. I don't know if you are. I don't believe you, but I do know that Rhaenyra needs to know what's happening with her father. Needs to know what's happening with his kingdom. So I'm not going to set you on fire, but I am going to go tell them, and I think that's what's going to happen in the next episode. She's going to run off, fly off, and go to where Rhaenyra and Daemon are to tell them of what's going on, and all hell's about to break loose. They're going to start shoring up their folks, getting up their troops, getting up their allies, so that when we come back in season 2, whenever that is, there will be a full-out, all-out war between these two growing houses to decide who is the true king of the throne. I don't know how the books go, but I do have a couple of minor issues with the episode. One of them being Rhaenys' actions at the very end. Yes, I know she's going to off to go tell and warn Rhaenyra, but she literally could have just ended all of this and just had Rhaenyra be the king right there. She could have just had Dracarys once and all those folks are on fire. She did enough damage there by trampling some of the people of the keep anyway, so what would burning the king, like all of them would be dead in that one fatal swoop. So it bit of a confusing piece there. I don't know if that's a part of the books, so someone's going to have to help me out there. But the big thing is this episode just really, we know the beginning, we know the end of this episode from the very beginning. There are no twists or turns or stakes. We know that everything humanly possible, Alicent is going to put Aegon on the throne. And so we watched all the rigmarole and pieces that happened to go make that occur with much obstacle. So it's kind of just like, this was an episode to just show us and put as a placeholder to show us to get there, as opposed to any real challenges or any pains to get to that point. It was very simple. I didn't talk about the last episode because I was gone, but the last episode seemed to believe that Alicent believed that Rhaenyra would be a great queen. But the second that she gets that little note from King Viserys on her deathbed, she's off to the races. So it feels a little bit of a herky-jerky with her character kind of go from left to right, back and forth. We see that she does have some sort of reticent of trying to kill Rhaenyra, but it doesn't seem like she has enough to like, yeah, my son's a shithead and he shouldn't be king. She should be queen. But that has all gone out the window because she heard this last message from her dying husband. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Um, Especially since the majority of this seems like there's even a moment in this which seems like she was put into this path because of her father. And so because it's not much of a thing for her, it doesn't feel as earned for her to go from you should be queen to my son should be king, even though he's not good at anything, to maybe we can kill her, but maybe let's not. But I guess I should because it just feels a little muddled. But those are just my thoughts. I'm interested to see what this final episode is when we look at the Black Council and see how all they run things and how everything sort of comes on their end. Because this is sort of the rise, if you will, the Empire Strikes Back episode, the rise of the Empire. So the next episode is going to be sort of how we plan to kind of counter that, and hopefully we get some sort of attention or payoff to where it is not so black and white from the very beginning of the episode to the end of the episode where we can see the writing on the wall. But those are my thoughts. What did you guys think about this penultimate episode of House of the Dragon called The Green Council? Go ahead and leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast by the same name that's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.